Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and get started. We have a work session at 6:30. We have the assessor, Scott Shipman, wants to give us a State of the Union address, or State of the County address.
State of the Union.
Go ahead, Scott.
Well, thanks. I don't think it's going to be that, but I appreciate your guys' time. I try to do this on every reassessment cycle just to bring the council up to speed as to what we're seeing. And when we deliver our message, at least you've got some leeway and some gain of knowledge into what's going on. So if you get calls from the citizens, you're at least boned up on what we're doing. I left a packet in front of everybody's computer there. Hopefully you can see it. And Jack told me this was on. So Jack, if you can hear me, hit the cue. I like to always start with this. This is a ratio study. And what this is it's a measurement of our value to sales. So essentially, it's telling us how accurate our values are compared to recent sales. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that over the 165,000 parcels that they're all going to be correct, because that's impossible. But this is an overall look or a glimpse of our values as they relate to sale prices. And you can see during the years when the economy started to go bad, we were over-predicting. And keep in mind, we can only reassess every odd-numbered year. So we've been cutting values the last 3 cycles. Well, come 2013, 14, and 15, you can see how our values started to dip from market value. So if, just real quick, if a house sold for $100,000 and we have it on at $95,000, we're 5% low. Our goal or our mandate is to be at 100%. Now, obviously, overall, you're not going to be right up there, snugged up to 100%. But you can see how we started to drift from market value. So this cycle, 2015, we're probably looking at an increase overall. Now, this is not an average per house, so don't take this away. I get this all the time from the media. The overall growth or overall gain in reassessment value countywide is about 6%, and that's on page 2. If you look at the school, city, and fires, we've kind of got it broken down that way. That's not to say that somebody's is not going to go down and somebody's is not going to go up more than that. What we're experiencing is some of the houses or some of the sales that happened back in 2007 and 8 when deals were being captured and there wasn't a lot of sales in the market and it was really volatile. There was things all over the place. We didn't have a lot of consistent information to really pinpoint something. Well, those types of properties are starting to see bigger increases than others. I mean, and it's just because they were coming in and appealing those. Usually those conditions were bad. They fixed those up. Keep in mind that everybody is going to get a notice. So if they pay attention to that notice, they always have a chance to appeal. Come into our office, sit down and tell us the condition of the property or where they see that the value is going from their perspective. If you remember, back in, I think, 2007, the legislators passed a bill or a law that made us provide a preliminary tax liability notice. Very complicated document. How many guys have even seen it? You probably don't want to admit to it. But on that piece of paper is an estimate from the political subdivisions or what their year-end tax may be. So if they read it, they're going to have a glimpse of what 14's tax was and what the 15 anticipation is. Now, the only caveat to that is there's quite a few ballot measures on for 2015. I think Wentzville's out for a tax increase. I think Francis Howell's out for a tax increase. Fort Zumwalt is. I think there's a fire district in Wentzville that may be. So those things I don't think are going to be captured in those preliminary tax notices because nobody's going to know if they passed or not. But that's going to impact the value as well. So you got to keep those things in mind. Generally, those calls come in February and March of 16 when people's escrows are short, and they might have underestimated by $400 or $500, so they have to capture that, which they're short, and then try to make up for 16, which is another $400 or $500, comes $1,000. That impacts somebody's payment by $100. Of course, they throw it on us, the assessor's office, but all that information will be shipped to them here about the end of April or so, and we'll hold hearings from about the end of April to the middle of June until we have to certify our book July 1st. We anticipate, or we're preparing for about 6,000 hearings. Whether we'll have that many, I don't know, but that's kind of how we've ramped up our hearing schedule. So hopefully we won't have that many, but you never know. We want to make sure that we're prepared. Our last STC ratio study, which is similar to the chart that I put up a few seconds ago, with 2013, our ratio was about at 96%, showing we're about 4% low. I mean, there's probably 4% noise in the market, but we're still within tolerance. I think if you get below 90, they can withhold your funding and try to make you do a better job. So just so you guys, if that's any comfort to anybody, but we try to stay right up there, snugged up to the 100%. That's our job anyways. As far as new subdivisions in the county, you probably know through planning and zoning efforts, there's just not a whole lot of new subs being put forth. And I think that's because there's still a lot of vacant lots out in the county that need to be absorbed. Our last study showed it was around 7,000. Obviously, most of them in Wentzville, but that's still a couple of years out. So we're not seeing any big subdivisions being developed. Big lotted subdivisions, I think the last year, the largest subdivision lot was 100 lots, which isn't very big, especially in St. Charles County. Not back in the heyday of, 2003, 4, and 5. I mean, there was some large subdivisions going in. So those are all trying to be absorbed. And you probably look at the building permit statistics. Those are increasing. So there's a lot of positive signs in the county. I mean, as far as real estate values are concerned. When we launch these notices, I'm sure you're going to get calls. You can answer as many questions as you feel that you can, but feel free to ship them to us. That's our job. We've got a lot of information out on the website. They can get all the particulars about their property. So I would encourage them to look and make sure that our information's right, it's correct, and if it's not, let us know. Of course, if we've got something undersized, they're probably not going to tell us. But that information is out there. We've got sale information, so it's easy for the citizen to discern what values in their area are going for, so they can kind of look at all that and get a gauge. That's the information that they're going to need to bring in as well. But we'll sit down with them and run through the same information that they would use, same information a realtor would use, the same information an appraiser would use. I like to think that we have more than any of those guys, because certificate of value is here in St. Charles County, so we get disclosure of every sale price. So we've got everything. We use those, we validate them. We try to call the buyer or seller to make sure that, it was exposed to the market for a reasonable length of time. So we filter through some of those. But that information, again, is public, and I would encourage them to hit that website and look. Personal property, we're probably a week away from sending our second notice out. If you haven't gotten yours already, you can file online. It's an easy process. We've had 13,000 or 14,000 people do that already, which is helping our office a whole bunch. But we'll drop that second mailing, so don't get those confused with the real. They're going to be real close together. A lot of citizens get those notices mixed up and think that they have to send the real estate assessment in, which they don't. It's personal property, and it says it on the top. So maybe the first thing to do is get clarification of what they're looking at. A lot of times they get confused. Any questions?
Joe.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry, I didn't write it down. When did you say the real estate assessments will be going out?
We're planning on getting those to our mail vendor the end of April.
Okay.
So I think the political subdivisions have to certify their rates back to the registrar in first part of April. They've got that long to do it, and then by the time the collector gets those entered.
And what are the dates of the appeal process again, just in case somebody
End of April through the second week in June.
Okay.
And we run those usually 9 to 5, and we try to have some evening hearings as well.
Okay.
They haven't been real successful in the past, but if they fill up, we'll definitely try to accommodate who can't get here during the day. We have phone hearings as well. So if you don't want to take off work, you can call and discuss the same thing that you would in person.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Steve?
third Monday in June at 5 o'clock.
Third Monday in June at 5 o'clock. That's not the board. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, which, you
That's
said
the-
the first 2 weeks in June.
Well, that's when we're having our informal hearings.
Okay, but the deadline for filing an appeal,
To the Board of Equalization is the second Monday in July now.
oh, it's moved?
Yeah, it's moved.
Okay, second Monday in July.
Right.
Once they miss that date, they're out
You
of luck.
can't even help them, Steve.
They can, but
So yeah, that's an important, and all that information, again, I know I keep preaching, we almost have too much on our notices, but everything is on those notices.
Hey, Joe.
Mike? Yes.
So Scott, I filled out my information online. I thought that was great. I thought it was really easy to use for personal property. But if somebody messes up on something like that, like they take something off, but they didn't add something on, can they do an amended one online?
Sure, or just email us. I
just
I
email.
get those every day. Somebody forgot to add something, or they didn't take it off when they got to look at their PDF. It's not a big deal. We can fix it quick.
Excellent. I
Not
thought
a
that was a
problem.
really good program. I like how you have it set up.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Yeah, Dave?
So I understand if there weren't any tax increases approved by the voters, do I expect to see a tax increase on my real estate tax this year?
Well, I guess it depends, Dave, on what they do with their tax levies, and we don't know. I mean, they have the ability to capture the gain up into their ceiling. A lot of them are at their ceiling. So if their tax rates stay the same and your property was to increase 5%, it could be a 5% increase on your tax.
I guess what I'm looking at, since now that real estate's starting to move some, there's nothing that automatically is going to raise my assessment.
Again, those levies, the political subdivision
Yeah,
set those
I mean,
levies.
besides them.
Nope.
Okay.
Any other questions? Steve, you guys got anything over there?
One question. So they've been rolling the rates up when the values have been declining.
Correct.
Are you telling me they're not going to roll them back down now after they're going back up again?
Well, I'm not telling you that, but you guys are we're a political
They
subdivision,
wouldn't do that, would they?
so I'm not going to say. But
Wouldn't
I
their
will.
taxpayers just like be up in arms if they acted like
I
that?
will tell you this, that preliminary tax liability notice has what their projected rate's going to be. And we went and put a column at the far right that says the percent difference year over year. So you can easily discern what they're doing with that rate.
Okay.
So that might be a good way to look too. I mean, and obviously the schools, the cities, and the fires, that's most of the tax bill.
Right.
So those are the big ones to look at.
Based on what you just said, who is deciding factor of when it rolls back or not rolls back? Is that the actual school board or fire board?
Yeah. See, we never roll ours up or back, so it's not an issue for us.
So in that case, if you isolated a county, I'll just dovetail into that. And in the last 3 cycles, if it was only St. Charles County tax you were paying, it would be decreased. Because the rate stayed the same and the value went backwards. So, I mean, they have that ability.
That's something you cannot do anything about.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but I have appealed several properties through the years to your office, and I can tell you, I think they handle things very professionally and fair. And the software that you guys utilize is pretty amazing, because when I thought my property wasn't worth as much, you clearly showed me what all the ground around there was worth. And I thought it was pretty well done the way you handled it.
Well, thank you. And we try to stay on the facts. I mean, why would we not want to?
Sure.
You know, we have to justify what we do, so.
Any other questions? All right, Scott, thank you.
Thank you guys
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Yes, Steve?
You going to the game on Wednesday night?
Yes, sir.
Well, we are
Mr. Chairman?
adjourned. Yes.
I'm going to give my, I was planning on giving my annual report tonight, and I can still just wait and give it to you during the normal meeting, but it won't take me more than 10 or 15 minutes if you'd like to hear it now.
That's your call, yeah, if you want
I mean,
to.
I think it would save time unless there's something else you guys have planned between now and 7 o'clock.
No, that's fine if you want to do that, yeah.
all
You
right
guys
with that
okay,
from the
you guys
agenda?
all right with that?
It's not on the agenda.
Oh, it's not on the agenda, so that's fine, yeah.
Oh, it's just under oral report? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me, you guys don't, okay.
Works for me. What, we get out faster? What? No.
Not on the,
And actually, I gave you a lot of information a few weeks ago. A lot of this is just updated from what we did then. And, but this is obviously something Colleen helped us put together, and Bob Schnurr provided a lot of the numbers. Yeah, this is available to any of you who'd like to use it to just to go and talk about what's been going on in the county. We don't need to say a whole lot more about Phase 3 of Page. It's a great accomplishment. Took a lot of years to get there. And this is the figure I love to talk about. I'm having East West Gateway asking them to update their existing map. They have a map, and they shade in dark green the areas where if you live there, you're within a 45-minute commute of 75% of the jobs in the region. Most of St. Charles and St. Peters is already in that category. I think with Phase 3 of Page, you're going to see that whole corridor put everybody within a 45-minute commute of 75% of the jobs. We all know about the emergency radio communication system. Again, need to thank Jennifer and Joanne and Chris. Who else is here to thank? For all the work that they did getting the system up. My understanding is law enforcement people love it. Yes, sir. And we're hearing good things from the fire and ambulance as well. So again, thanks to them, and that's one of those things turned out to be a lot more work than we thought it was going to be when we got into it. But we made it. Healthy community, again, you know, we're ranked high. I tell people that, well, again, you know, we're the first responder, we're the emergency management when it comes to these public health threats. And that didn't mean a whole lot last year when we talked about this, but given the Ebola scare that came up a few months ago, if that had happened here instead of in Dallas, it would have been us with the responsibility of dealing with it. Just like when you turned on the TV, I think it was the presiding commissioner in Dallas County that you saw there. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on at the health department. The less we hear from them, the less we see them in the news, the better things are. But they do a lot of positive things as well. You can see here the number of vaccinations, recyclable material. Pet adoption continues to be one of the most popular things that we do. I've talked to you before about the truancy court, and we're working with the health department, with the juvenile office, with the courts, with the school district in the city of St. Charles, because their truancy, their attendance level had dropped to below 86% of the kids there 90% of the time, which is still pretty good. But compared to the rest of the schools in the county was not nearly as good. To get the whole 10 points, and because they were at 86, they didn't get 10 points on their MSIP, which made them look like they were doing poorly. Just in this first semester, they've gone from 86 up to 89. So they still need to get one more percentage point to get the full credit on their Missouri School Improvement Program. And again, you know, with everything, all the discussion about education, we can have a debate about, do you need more taxes? Do you need better teachers? Do you need better administrators? None of that's going to matter if the kids aren't there. So we're going to continue to work with the schools, and we're also, of course, you know that we put this Veterans Best Practice Working Group together. Last year, we wanted to do something for the veterans, but we wanted to do more than just erect another monument. We wanted to actually help, especially some of these younger men and women who've been deployed in the last 10 or 15 years. And when they're coming back, we want to be able to help them. College Meadows Park, again, you all know about this, 9-hole disc golf course, and I think the opening, Joanne, is sometime in April. Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head. We'll send it to the council.
It is sometime in April, though.
I know it's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon because it's on a trustees meeting night.
Yeah.
Over at the school.
Yeah. Of course, you all know about the new park property at Pittman Hill, Kisker. We're going to have a meeting here in the next week or two to see what Betty has been able to put together so far in terms of planning to develop that park. Again, this is the park I'd like to see go to the top of the list for development, because this is the park, the right park in the right place where there's actually people around it. We're going to have a lot of great parkland, a lot of great parks someday, but I think that the need is greatest in this part of the world. And I don't just say that to suck up to Mr. Elam.
Steve, College Meadows is April 20th. April 20th.
Okay. Park activity, of course, you can see there, we got a lot of participants, volunteers. We have a program every year where we thank our volunteers. The Paint Your Park contest. I think we looked at this a couple weeks ago, the housing permit issue. Obviously, we had that big precipitous drop, but it's slowly been coming back, and it's probably getting pretty close to back to the old normal. It was just there for a while. It was way above normal in terms of the amount of new housing that's built. There you can see it by municipalities, and you can see everybody's doing well, and everybody's moving in the right direction, except this little blip here from St. Charles. That's because of the streets of St. Charles, and in a particular year, I guess they issued permits for all those units, which then made it look like the next year like they really dropped off, but they didn't. Unemployment rates, obviously, we continue to be well ahead of Missouri and the country in terms of employment. The percentage of our folks that work, it's the lowest in the metro area. The unemployment rate is lowest. Public safety, of course, the sheriff's department, and this is great. 12 crimes per 1,000. That's down from 13 2 years ago. And again, just to give you some sort of comparison, we're at 12, St. Louis City's at 85, and St. Louis County's at 22 per 1,000. I think we've made the transition very well to the police department. Very proud of the people in that department, as well as the people in the sheriff's department who have really cooperated in making these changes, and we think everything has gone fairly smoothly. Power of teamwork. We began accepting partial tax payments. We launched a new website. We instituted Project CARE program for the first year. We've got the Shop Local St. Charles County initiative. We've tried to make a greater effort with our resolutions, social media push, billboards. We've all discussed this quite a bit. I mean, it's just a brand new world out there in terms of ways to communicate, and we're trying not to be too old-fashioned, and trying to keep up with all the newest and latest. And Colleen's done a super job in that regard the last year. General revenue up 4.8% from the year before. 7% increase in sales tax, which is obviously good news for us when 61% of our revenue comes from sales tax. And as we discussed earlier, we've had no property tax rate increases since 1999. Compression problem, I think we've addressed that now. I'm sure there's still some work that can be done, but generally I think we've addressed that problem. The average pay raise last year was 4.23%, and we're able to hold the health insurance increases to 5% per employee. What's next? Obviously, implementation of the new 911 system. I think Jennifer talked to you about that a few weeks ago. Further rollout of the community development citizen serve software, Bromelsick Park, formal dedication, emergency management mass notification system. These are all things that we'll be working on this year. The SCC MVP program, this is something Jennifer, I believe, has basically put together. It's an effort to identify employees who are really making a difference and doing a great job, and giving them some sort of recognition and reward. As you remember, we did that years ago, not that many years ago. This is one of the things that got the axe when we had the recession and the declining revenues. That's one of the things we quit doing. And I think it's important we go back and do some of these things to recognize the people who are really doing a good job. That's it.
Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
No.
Pretty good timing.
Yeah, it was very good.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we'll adjourn for 4 minutes.